Safety off, safety off. Hey guys, Ben here with Arkansas Northwoods. Out on my range today with two icons, Ruger Mini-14 and the Ar-15. So as we know, both these rifles are scaled down versions of two iconic 308 rifles. So I'm going to be doing a side-by-side comparison today, pros and cons, accuracy checks, all that good stuff. Let's get to it. So first up, I'll shoot the Mini-14. Most of you guys have probably seen one of these, but just in case you haven't, this will kind of be introductory here. So we have our safety right inside the trigger guard, charging handle, and I got a 20 round somewhere in my pocket. Magazine loaded with a Federal 55 grain FMJs in 223. So we rock our magazine in, if I can find it. Got our safety on still. Pull back the charging handle, release. Then I will click the safety off and take a couple shots here. And it locks open on the last round. Now I know all you've seen one of these before. This is an Ar-15 chambered in 223/556 Vortex red dot. It has safety selector on this side. We have a charging handle right here, and I have a 20 round magazine to keep things similar with the same Federal 55 grain FMJs. So take a few shots with this as well. Turn on my red dot. Here we go. There it is. So I have both the firearms side by side on the bench here. I'm sure you can already see some similarities right off the bat. On the Ar-15, we have a 16-inch barrel. On the Mini-14, we have a 16-inch barrel as well, along with matching 20-round magazines. There is the option of 30 or larger for the Mini-14 and for the Ar-15. So a bit of a brief history. The Mini-14 first came into production in 1973. And the Ar-15 first went into full stream production in 1956, but it did not really start to gain popularity in the civilian market until about 2004 after that fantastic gun ban. So along with our similarities in 16-inch barrels, they are both gas driven. The Ar-15 has a gas block right here. Probably can't see it due to the camera, but it shoots gas out of the barrel down a gas tube right onto the bolt key. This is what you'd call direct impingement gas system, since you have gas physically pushing the bolt to the rear. Now, on the Mini-14, same type of gas system, not necessarily direct impingement. What we have is this large gas block right here. This directs gas downwards and onto the connecting rod, which pushes the bolt to the rear. Or I should say, the connecting rod unlocks the bolt. It rotates up into the rear, ejecting the casing. This does the same thing, but just the face of the bolt rotates and goes to the rear and ejects, where the whole bolt physically turns and moves to the rear. This is non-reciprocating charging handle. This is reciprocating charging handle. So when you're firing this firearm, you do not have to worry about, your fingers getting in the way or what have you. Where on this one, you got to keep a clear mind not to be letting that hit you in the hand. So another similarity both these rifles have is they lock open on the last round. Mini-14, we're going to take the magazine out. So you hit the release, it rocks out. Close it. If we want to open it without a magazine, we hold this little button down and it stays open. The Ar-15's similar, but a little more streamlined, so we don't have to rock the magazine out. Push the magazine release, it comes right out. We have, take the magazine out again here. Pull back the non-reciprocating charging handle, let the bolt carrier group forwards. And then we have this bolt catch here. So what we can do is push this little button in as we pull, and it'll lock open without a magazine. Now where we do not have any similarities is the bolt travels into the receiver, just into this little portion right there, and that is all the traveling it does. So we have this full stock, and the receiver, the action, nothing moves into it at all. So honestly, we could have no stock on it. It would fire. We could have a folding stock, pretty much anything you would want, and that's never affected by the bolt. But on the Ar-15, we have the entire bolt carrier group travels into this buffer tube. I'll show in disassembly, but there is a spring and a buffer, and the bolt travels back into the tube. So we do not have the option to fire it with a stock that's folded. You can buy adapters to fold your stock to the side, but it will not cycle unless it has that spring and buffer in place to push the bolt back forward. Now, as far as disassembly, it's pretty simple, but you will need one tool. So first thing I'm going to do, stick the magazine out. I'm going to close the bolt. We are safe. We are empty. So we take this dust cover heat shield thing, the front, no tools required. But now to separate the barrel and receiver from the stock, you can see here's this little hole here. I'm going to take my handy Gerber multi-tool, wedge it in there, just give it a pop. Lower fire control group drops right out. This is our trigger, our hammer. And then just lift up, pull back. We have the pan. You can see it's all dirty in there from the excess gas. We have our connecting rod right here. And there is our gas block. This can be taken completely apart. But I'm not going to get into that because it gets a little tricky. Oh, what the heck, maybe I will. There's a little groove. You go all the way back. If I recall right, it's been a little while. Let's wrestle with it a minute. Yep, there we go. So now we're up. We are clear. Pull back again. We can separate the connecting rod. As you can see, it's pretty chunky. It'd be inside this hole that has a little bit of venting on it, not much, that the gas pushes back, cycling it. And we have our bolt. This can be kind of a pain to get out. There we are. Pretty simple. Not trying to set any records, but I'm going to try to get her back together here. A little bit of wiggling. There we go. Set her back to the rear. Make sure we got this little pin. Goes on the receiver. That's perspective place. Very small recoil spring compared to the AR. Back up. Back, kind of wiggle it out. There's that little groove right here. The charging handle, make sure that clicks in. Back together. Hinges back in. There is two little slots here. It's got those little hooks. Those lock right in the receiver. Just kind of get it lined up, wiggle it in, give it a click. Good to go. This guy just clicks right back in. I'll disassemble the Ar-15. No tools required. Safety is on. We have an empty chamber. First thing we're going to do is press this little pin down. We get our fingernails in there, and then it will just hinge off the front pin. Take the bolt carrier group out. Simply release the charging handle. Set our bolt aside. Charging handle can hop right out. I will probably lose it because I'm stupid. Put it back in. Now I'll just keep going the rest of the way here and completely half this thing. Take the front pin off the trunnion. We have this little detent here. Push the pin in. Wiggle it, make sure we're on well, then there's a flat spot on your buffer here, so make sure that gets pressed in. And that is the big, chunky recoil spring we're working with that travels most of the way back in the tube. Put that guy back in. This is our bolt carrier group. This is the bolt. This part rotates. I'll probably lose parts, but you pull a pin, drop the firing pin out, take this little cam key out, pull the bolt right out the face. So now for reassembly, let's pull the charging handle back a little bit. Make sure our bolt is forwards. I know this is dirty. It's going to get cleaned. Push our bolt carrier group in. Make sure it locks. So we are nice and flush with the back. Just going to close that for the heck of it. A little bit of wiggling. Got our front pin in. Rear pin. Ready to go. Now, one of the big disadvantages of the Mini-14 is the way the barrel and gas block is set up. Take my hand guard off here. Not hand guard, but heat shield. So we have a chunkier area of the barrel here where the chamber is. It tapers down real thin. This huge honking gas block that is attached to the stock, it's wedged in. Now what this does is when you fire, you're nice and solid, then you hit an even more solid point that's attached to the entire firearm, and then you get slap in your barrel, which greatly affects the accuracy. Now where the AR-15 has an advantage is the entire barrel is free floated. It is only attached to the receiver of the barrel nut right here. Now there's no one behind the camera, so I'm not pointing the firearm at anyone. But if you can see in the camera looking down it, we have nothing aside from the gas tube, which doesn't really affect anything, running down the entire handguard. So free floated, free for vibrations, nothing touching it or affecting the zero. So I'm going to do a little accuracy check using this Ammo Incorporated. I'm not sponsored by them or by anyone for that matter, but I just wanted to have something a little different so I can check consistency. I have a paper target set up 40 yards down range. It's kind of all this range will allow right now. But I'm going to take 5 shots, see what kind of group I get, and then I'm going to do the same thing with my AR-15 and kind of compare them. Be nice on me about this. When I bought this used, it did not have the front sling swivel, so I just have it kind of sitting on this old bipod. So let's see what we can do. Load it up here. Going for center mass on my paper target. See how it did. Here's what we're working with sight wise. We got this adjustable kind of aperture, more of a peep sight in the back, and then in the front we have this behemoth, if I can get my camera to focus, front sight. It's pretty much a butter knife. It is huge. It's hard to really precisely see what you're aiming at with it. Kind of gives you a general idea. So now we'll go take a look at our target. So now I've gone over the sights on the Mini-14. This is what we're looking at. This is a 12 by 12 grid. You can see 4 of my 5 shots, all really high and right compared to where I was aiming. And we got this one flyer way over here. I mean, I'm not the best shot in the world, but I mean, that's my group. And I'm used to shooting that thing, so it definitely wasn't a flinch. That's kind of where that barrel flop plays in on the ranch rifles. I don't know what year that one is. I think I bought it back in, 2009 or something like that. And it was definitely old then, but I think Ruger's beefed up their barrels a bit. But anyway, that's what we're looking with. Not the most accurate thing in the world, but I don't think that was the intention of the Mini-14. Now, same drill essentially, same distance, just a fresh target this time. Same ammunition. The only difference will be this is a red dot sight, so I can be a little more precise with it. Even so, my flip-up sights are probably 75% smaller, for the front sight at least, than the Mini-14. So here we go. Take 5 shots as well. Load it up. Close our bolt. There's 5. Let's go check it out. Here's our pattern. We have 2 rounds touching each other, essentially same bullet hole, so sub MOA on that. And these guys are, less than half an inch apart, and 1 flyer over there, which is my fault. So we're much more consistent here. So here's what we're looking like on sights. A lot smaller, a lot more fine. Then we got the red dot here. Granted, it's out of focus, so that dot's much smaller, but that's an advantage over the Mini-14. Now, if you're like me, you didn't watch this video just to see someone talk a lot, so I'm going to burn up the last few rounds I have, best way I know how. Missed! Missed a lot. These front side, whoo, not used to it. And with this. Much more my speed. easier to aim. So in conclusion, I'd say the pros to this firearm is one thing didn't really touch on too much. Feed is insane. I've never had this thing jam or do anything weird. I mean, you could fill it with sand and it'd probably still function. I'm not going to try that because I still enjoy this gun. Uh, I guess that is a big pro of it. I do have a ATI tactical stock. I don't like it as much. It's bulky, but you can fold the stock. Something nice and classic about the wood stock on this firearm. So that's a definite pro to it. One of the cons, can't disassemble without tools really, unless you got really small fingers. Um, Front and rear sights, not too user friendly. Or since they're user friendly, you got to be close. It's not for reaching way out there. You know, no flash hider. Quite the fireball, as you can probably see. Um, that's kind of the only cons I have on it, really. I bought this used way back in the day for I think $425. Now, this exact style of ranch rifle is going to run you like $919. I just checked that today. That's the lowest price. And if you want the tactical version of this, which would come 20 round magazine, synthetic stock, I think has a better rear sight, flash hider, better front sight, and a scope mount. I believe they all have scope mounts. I've tried scope mounts on this, and they just don't make a good adaptable old school one. But anyway, that tactical version of this, I think is an 18-inch barrel, is going to run you $1,010. That's the absolute lowest price I could find online for that as well. So where we are on the AR-15, I'd say the only cons with it is a much tighter action. So as far as the bolt, you know, if you don't clean it and they get real dirty, you could have jams, issues. I personally have never had any issues with this thing not feeding or jamming or anything like that. And then gotta have the buffer tube in order for it to cycle. Um, you know, they're pretty sturdy. I don't think any of us could do anything to the buffer tube to make them not function. You'd have to crush it, blow it up, or something else crazy to get it not to cycle. Um, you know, the pros, free floated, flash hider, optic ready, you know, put in your flip up sights. There are other models of this, I'm sure you know, with the fixed front sight built into the gas block and the carry handle rear. But the absolute lowest price I was able to find on an AR-15 similar to this was $349.99. So looking at $350 for something free floated, 16-inch barrel with a 30 round magazine. I can't vouch for that. I'm not even going to say the name of it, but that's what you're looking at essentially cost wise. When I bought my Mini-14, one of these was unattainable for me financially. It would have been 2,000 or more just for a basic like Bushmaster or something like that. So it's crazy how the times change. Hope you enjoyed today's video. We're up to 431 subscribers. I'm just overjoyed. This is fantastic. So thank you guys. Ben out.